Joining us now is Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida and former special advisor to President Trump. Pam, when we look at what Republicans are doing right now, it looks like they are taking steps to put out some substantive changes, things that maybe put prohibitions on the chokehold, things that do away with no-knock warrants, putting together a database that at least kind of keeps track of allegations of misconduct. Do you think this is a step in the right direction?
100%. I'm a career prosecutor. I have never been a fan of chokeholds. Unless, of course, as the president said, unless an officer's life is at risk, he is about to die. What we saw with George Floyd, of course, was he was handcuffed on the ground with 4 officers. Yes, I do agree with the chokehold. I think our president cares so much. I know that firsthand. I did the prison reform with him. President Trump has done so much, not only to help our minority communities, but all our communities. And he also cares so deeply for the 99% of our great men and women in law enforcement around our country. And he's going to continue to do that. We're going to also make sure police officers are safe as well when they're doing their jobs, and they have the tools to do their jobs in a way that protects them as well. But yes, I agree with doing away with the safe holds. I also think it's good, like if police officers are changing departments and moving. I actually had that issue when I was a prosecutor once. If police officers are moving around a lot, you've got to know if they have a past. Chiefs aren't going to want to hire them. Sheriffs aren't going to want to hire them. So that's very important as well. And the president's discussing all that and a whole lot more. And this is evolving and ongoing. But you know what he's done? More in 40 days than Joe Biden has done in 40 years in his entire career to help law enforcement.
And what we're seeing right now, too, is a legislative solution. And in my opinion, that's the way I would like to see it be done because it's a little bit more concrete. But what the president did yesterday, he signed an executive order, which once again, I think everybody across the political spectrum is saying it's a step in the right direction. Van Jones on CNN said that. It's something we've heard from all those on the left and the right. But when it comes to that executive order, I had some questions about that as well. Does that apply then to every police department going down the list, since it is more of an administrative type of measure compared to a legislative one? What is different than what the president did than what Republican lawmakers are now trying to do?
Well, I guess a way to say it, the most basic way is legislation is much more concrete. The president does have power to do an executive order, and this was very important to him because he only, this happened 40 days ago, and legislation is going to take a while. Right. My guess is the legislation is going to be all-encompassing, include all this, but President Trump wanted to jump in and act right away to protect citizens and to protect officers, but to make sure that officers are doing things the right way. So we never want to see something like George Floyd again in our lifetime.
And I think it's important just to show that he was willing to take action at this time. Right now, there is a lot of unrest taking place. A lot of people are looking for accountability. In fact, we're learning today now that the officer in the Richard Brooks case has now been charged with felony murder. So that's something, too. We're seeing action being moving relatively fast as this goes. And a lot of people are calling for even more action. So when we look back, when we're in November, for example, and we look back at what's happening right now, this will be something that the president can say, I took action early on. I tried to take action in order to curb some of the things that were being called for. What else should Republicans be doing right now to try to reach out to black voters who may feel disenfranchised by not only Joe Biden, but the Democratic Party, who has essentially led us to this point where we are today, as well as with the Republican reforms? I got to throw them both under the bus. But what can Republicans do right now in order to capitalize on this moment?
Well, and nobody wants to, and I know you didn't mean it this way at all. No one wants to capitalize on tragic deaths that are happening at all. But it's going forward what's happening, and that's what the president's doing. We have so much black support in our country. I think you're going to see a lot of it at our rally Saturday night. You're going to see a lot of support at the rally from our African American community. The president, you've been seeing him. He's bringing in black leaders, ministers, law enforcement. He's bringing them into the White House. I've been there firsthand on other issues when he's done that. He wants to hear all sides, but Republicans overall need to do the same thing. We need to continue to be extremely supportive of our great black community and all communities, frankly, throughout our country. And that's what needs to happen. But are we getting the word out? Absolutely. The president's got incredible surrogates in the black community. And I think stay tuned for Saturday night because I think you're going to see some of them.
And I think this is one of those issues, too, where the American people just want to see progress and some calmness brought to this situation right now. I mean, I think that this is one of the few things where the two sides can actually get together and make some progress on an issue that a majority of people agree with. I mean, I don't think a majority of Americans want to do away with police. I think a majority of Americans recognize the fact that police do very good work, but there are improvements that we can still make. I mean, I think it's a consensus when we get to that point. Pam Bondi, go ahead. I want to let you respond to that real quick.
Oh, no, absolutely. And something else that I'm a huge advocate of since I was a prosecutor in my early 20s is community policing, putting more police officers in our minority communities because they become like family. I lived that firsthand when I was a prosecutor. So they get to interact and they get to know. We need to let our Black community know that most police officers in this country are good and they want to help them. So I'm a big advocate of that, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that throughout the country, as well as in Florida.
No, that's a great idea, because not only do they become more accustomed to that area, they're better understanding of what's going on there, but traditionally they should better represent the demographics of that area then too, if those individuals are then joining the police force in that area. So I think that's right. I think that's a very good approach that people should be keeping an eye on as we move forward. But Pam Bondi, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you.